All right, well, welcome to the next part of our study. We're in 1 John 4, verse 10 today. And the question I asked was, have you been saved by love? Here is love. It's not that we love God, but He loved us. It is a free love in the sense that it's not constrained or bound by anything, but by the will of God Himself. No external force or another being can dictate to God what love is, or to whom He will place His love upon. God's love was eternal first. It was eternally first. It is the original love. It always existed and always will. God's love came before human love began. He loved us individually before we existed. He loved us when we were His enemies. He loved us when we were workers of iniquity. He loved us when our minds were at enmity with Him. So our love did not trigger the love of God. On the contrary, His love is what caused us to love. Because of His love and its continuation are not dependent on us loving Him, and it doesn't change because of our lack of love. So His love is not based on our love. His love is original and it's eternal, and therefore is not impacted by our love. If He loves, it will continue and it shall never be removed. God is sovereign, and in His exercise of love, it's the same way. So it makes His love measureless. You can't measure His love then, because it's eternal. It's outside of time. How can we measure that? And it's inexplicably strong. It overcomes everything. His love is able to do things that we can only imagine. Well, actually, we can imagine one thing. His love saves. This love was shown by the Father sending the Son, and the Son being the propitiation for our sins. This is the reason that Jesus needed to be sent, so that our sins could be propitiated, that atonement would be made. Without Jesus being the appeasement of God's wrath, there is no life for His people. Without the penalty of sin being paid, the chosen of God would not have loved Him and would have remained in their wrath and under the wrath of God. And Jesus' love and justice meet each other. You must remember that Jesus, being the propitiation for the sins of His people, is not the cause of His love, but it's the effect of His love. Like he doesn't love His people because He paid for their sins. He paid for their sins because He loved them. He loved those whom the Father had given to Him, and He manifested His love to those that were sent to Him by the Father. He made atonement for them so that they would be one with Him. As Jesus said to the Father, I made known to them your name, and I will continue to make it known, that the love with which you have loved me may be in them, and I in them. So, this is a love that saves. That's the question. Have you been saved by love? God's love saves. It's not a passive love. It's not just something He just throws out there and then hopes that people respond. It's a love that is eternal, is powerful, is life-changing. It's the love by which we were saved. If we're saved, that means God put His special love upon you before the foundation of the world. If you're not saved, it means you don't have God's special love. His love causes us to be saved because we are all by nature and by choice sinners and enemies of Him. So He had to change us. He had to do something to make us choose to follow Him. We wouldn't make the decision unless He first worked in us. His love had to come first before our love. We love because He first loved us. That's what John says. And so we have to get that order right. Now, sometimes we like to put that off and like to change it, like to tweak it a little bit so that we get the credit for that. But we shouldn't get any credit for it. It's only God that does it. And so people well, doesn't that make God responsible for those who go to hell? It's His fault that they go to hell. No, because it's our sin, not God's love, not the lack of God's love. It's our sin that is the reason why we go to hell. We're punished because of sin, not because God's not choosing us, not because of God's not loving us. We go because of sin, and we love sin. And so That's why we get punished. Now, the reason why we're saved is because of God, but it's not because our choice comes after He's already saved us. It's a response. Our decision to follow Him is a response to what He's already done, because He's done that in eternity past, and not in response to who we are or what we've done. It's the other way around. We respond to Him because He's changed us, and now who we are, and in spite of what we've done, now we choose to follow Him. So it puts the glory on Him, not upon us. And so I know a lot of brothers and sisters get that confused, but if you think about it, it has to be that way, because His love is eternal. It's before time. And I know some of that's kind of hard to grasp, but that's just how it is. And if He chose us, why did He choose us? It's not because we loved Him. He had to first love us. And He didn't choose everyone that way, because then everyone would be saved. So think about it. It's got to be this way. So come back tomorrow. We'll take a look at the conclusion of our study for this week.